Hey, it's Paul. Welcome to the free monthly ezine for May. Today we're looking at a classic 70s rock tune. We're looking at All Right Now by Free. Pretty straightforward song, pretty simple. There's only two real parts to learn, which are the chorus. The bass doesn't play in the verse. You've got the chorus, and then you've got a two-bar pattern that plays over and over underneath the guitar solo, and that pattern's really distinctive. It's almost like a question and answer structure to it. You've got a low phrase down there, which is right down fifth fret, and then you've got the which is at the 17th and 19th frets of the D and the G string. So you've got to get right up to the treble end of the bass. Possibly worth, if you were doing this live, boosting the treble a fraction over what you'd normally have it, so that when you play those treble notes, they really do ring out and are really clear. But it's an interesting challenge getting up and down from one part of the phrase to the next part of the phrase and making it smooth. So it's a good thing to practice because it will improve your understanding of the fretboard, and it will improve your getting around the fretboard as well, because we don't get above the kind of the 12th fret that often. So that'll be quite a cool one for you to do. The solo itself, if you listen to the original, there's lots and lots of variations on the original bassline on that two-bar phrase. I've left it as a two-bar phrase, and I've done that deliberately because on sections of songs like this, especially in a live context, the emphasis of that part of the song should be on the guitarist doing a guitar solo. So for the bass player, it's really important that we create a solid foundation to give him a platform to do what he's doing. And often in those situations, I find that unless you're very, very experienced and you can maintain a solid pulse through throwing in lots of variations, that it's actually easier just to focus on a simple 2 or 4 bar pattern that repeats and just concentrate on really just delivering that consistently through the period of the guitar solo, so that the guitarist can just be free to do what he needs to do and to have a really solid platform to do it. Also, I find, I've talked about this before, that when you get sections like this, if you get the drummer and in this instance, if you had a pretty traditional kind of band setup, you have the drummer and maybe the keyboard player as well. If everyone else is throwing in lots of fills as well underneath what the guitar player is trying to play, then it really does start to detract from what he's doing, because there's lots for the listener to go on. Whereas if you create a consistent pattern, you and say the keyboard player are doing, and maybe there's some rhythmic variations from the drummer, then the listener's ear in the audience can be focused on that pattern. That pattern sets up what's going on harmonically and rhythmically in a way you link what the drummer's doing to the keyboard player. And that really gives the guitarist something to build from. And it's something really worth trying to achieve. If you're doing band practices and stuff, and you've got sections like this and the solo sections sound messy, I would say 99 times out of 100, the reason why is the people supporting the solo sections are throwing in variations. And if solos are messy, stop the rehearsal and say, hey guys, this sounds messy, let's try doing this, and really provide just a solid grooving foundation for what the soloist is trying to achieve, and see if that makes a difference. See if you can get people used to the discipline of creating a 2 or a 4 bar section and then just repeating it and just making sure it feels really good. I almost guarantee that 99 times out of 100, your solo sections in your live songs will suddenly sound a whole heap better. So anyway, that's enough talking. We'll go into the lesson itself. Before each of the two sections, you'll see me playing the section that we're about to teach to a backing track generated from GarageBand, which is a Mac-only application. It's a loop-based application, and that will be at slowed down tempo, which is around 100 beats per minute. And then at the end of the lesson, you'll see those two sections played at performance tempo, which is 119 or 120 beats per minute, something like that. So that'll explain the play-along sections that you've seen, and there's extra sections at the end of the lesson as well. So hope you enjoy the lesson. All the notes, etc., are in the PDF in both notation and in tab, so you should be able to pick this tune up. the thing to work on is that solo section. Really work on getting the transition from the low end of the neck to the high end of the neck, and back down from the high end to the low end, getting them nice and smooth. Make sure nothing's ringing out, and enjoy it. This is one of those songs, when you get it right on a live context, a fun song to play, and isn't that difficult. So enjoy the lesson. Hope you get a lot out of it, and I'll catch you in the next video. So those choruses are simple 8-bar patterns. You just saw it played slow. If you wind on to the end of the video, you'll see it played at performance tempo, which is around 120 beats per minute. Let's go through it bar by bar. The first 4 bars are this. Basically, you've got 3 notes. Sorry, let's go back slightly. You've got 3 notes: A at the 7th fret of the D string, F sharp at the 9th fret of the A string, and E at the 7th fret of the A string. So what you've got, and basically it's built around a pedal of the A note, the 7th fret of the D string, and that note's played quite staccato as well. And that first run there is A to F sharp to E. So that's the first 2 bars. The next 2 bars, so you've got A, E, F sharp, A, E, F sharp, A, F sharp. All those note locations you'll find in the PDF, which have got the line in notation and tab as well. The next 4 bars, very similar. That's bars 5 and 6. Again, identical to bars 1 and 2. A, F sharp, E. And then the final 2 bars of the pattern, A, F sharp, B, 7th fret of the A string, slide down from that B, and then come back and hit A, the 5th fret of the E string, or hit the open A string, and your finger playing through the A string should come to rest on the E string, so it mutes that slide that you did down from B. So you can always rewind the tape and watch the section of it played slowly again, but it's very straightforward, and all the notes are in the PDF in notation and tab as well. So let's move on and look at the bass line under the solo. So the guitar solo is a 2-bar pattern. If you listen to the original, you'll find that there are some variations on the original. I've deliberately ignored them because this is a section where I feel the emphasis should be on the guitar solo and what the guitarist is doing. So as a bass player, what we should be doing is getting our pattern, nailing it, and giving a good foundation for the guitarist to go and do his thing. Now the basic 2-bar pattern, played really slowly, is this. And you've got that really nice melodic answer to the first bar, which is like a question. Now the 2 bars in themselves are fairly straightforward. The first bar starts on A, 5th fret of the E string, open E, F sharp at the 2nd fret of the E string, 2 more 8th note A's, F sharp, E, and then you've got the jump. Now, the notes for that are G, D, F sharp, D. And fret-wise, you've got G at the 17th fret of the D string, D at the 19th fret of the G string, F sharp at the 16th fret of the D string, and back to that D, the 19th fret of the G string. Where the challenge comes in is in linking the two sections together. Now the first section to the second section is not too bad because that ends on an open E string, and while that E's sounding, you can be moving your hand up to grab that. And the important thing is when you fret that note, that first note, to make sure that something comes to rest against the E string and mute that E string, because if the E string's sounding and you play the G, it will sound muddy and horrible. So it's really important that you either put your thumb or the side of your thumb onto the E string and mute it at the precise moment that you play the G. Now, getting back from that high D back into the original pattern, that's where the issue arises. One way around it is you could play the first A's as open strings, which would then give you a chance to move your hand back down. I prefer to play A here at the 5th fret of the E string. It's just a personal habit that I have, and the way that I get round it is when I get that last D here, the 19th fret, what I'll do is just have a little slide, maybe to about there, and that gives me, so then I've not got too much of a stretch, and then I can use that open E to then move the hand from there to there. So playing that whole pattern slowly so you can see what I mean. And with that slide, when the guitar really hits in and you've got the piano playing those chords as well, that slide won't be registered by anyone in the audience. So experiment with those two ways of doing it, and you'll find out which way you prefer, and then practice it over and over. Start with a metronome or a drum pattern, set low, maybe 70 or 80, and gradually work it up so you can get those linking the two different bars, the question bar to the answer bar, and get those linking smoothly. Now, one other thing while we're here, sometimes, especially when you're in a gig situation, you're playing at performance tempo, you might scuff that first note. Sometimes you might land here on the F sharp instead of the G. If you do that, then just slide to the G and cover the mistake that way, and people won't even register you've made a mistake. That's something to just look out for, because when you're making those kind of leaps from here, your hands here, you've got your first finger down here by the 2nd fret, because you've got to fret that note there, the F sharp, before you go to the open E. So you've got quite a distance to travel, so sometimes you'll find that you're not quite made the distance before you've got to play. If that's the case, don't play late. Wherever you are, fret the note and just slide to the G immediately. And it will actually sound like you're adding colour and slur and doing it deliberately. So as you're working through that, if you find that happening, do that so that you can maintain the integrity of the line and it just sounds like you're adding a bit of colour.
you.